In over 1 year of working on my current LEGO City layout, I still haven't added any sort of construction site, which is of course a must-have in every LEGO City. So this is the plan for this week's LEGO City update. I'm planning to add a scaffolding next to the building I've just removed. As always, I'm using real-life examples as a template. In this case, for the scaffolding, my plan is the uglier the thing looks, the better it is. Of course, the width of the whole thing is exactly the width of the side of the building I'm adding the scaffolding to. And now as we start to build it, well, it sort of gets a bit illegal when it comes to the different building techniques. As you can see, I'm combining Lego Technic pins with normal Lego pins, which works just fine, but isn't meant to be used this way. But I always love to integrate these illegal building techniques. In order to connect the different platforms to the pins I'm using to gain height, I'm using light bluish gray hinges. As you can see, I'm only using 2 different colors. Firstly, tan for the wooden platforms, and then light bluish gray, as I've mentioned just now, because that's the best color for representing metal. On the platforms, I'm then using normal fences to prevent the construction workers from falling down. And as you can see right here, I'm now adding different types of pins to connect the next platform of the scaffolding, because my goal was to use as many different types of pins as possible. That's also what I've just mentioned with creating the whole thing as ugly as somehow possible, because that's essentially my goal when trying to recreate a realistic looking construction site. All I'm doing now is trying to add some sort of stability to the whole thing. Obviously, a construction out of pins and hinges isn't the most solid thing, so I've spent quite some time adding some more connections between the different pins. Having that done, it's time to finally decorate the whole thing. I'm adding ladders, obviously, to reach the different platforms. Theoretically, there isn't enough space for a hole for the minifigures to climb onto the next platform, I know, but in this case, I simply had to leave it this way because otherwise the scaffolding would have been too wide. Now on to the next and best part of this update. We'll finally add the whole thing we've just created into the LEGO City layout. I've just added the building, and now I'm working on firstly the tiling for the pedestrian way, and then secondly for the bike lane I've added beneath it. Having that done, it's time to measure and find out the spots where the scaffolding will be connected to the LEGO City, so we can then add studs in order to fix it to the ground. I'm using normal plates on the sides and then a jumper plate in between, so the middle pin is actually centered. This simply looks better and was actually necessary in order to have them fit in between the fences. Also, as you can see, by adding all these different connectors in between the pins, the whole thing is now somewhat stable. At least it doesn't fall apart when I'm carrying it around in the LEGO City. So I mean, that's beneficial. Having the whole thing finally connected to the LEGO City, it's now time to work on the details, add some life, add construction workers, of course. I'm adding, as always, jumper plates so the minifigures don't topple over. I'm also adding some more fences, some tools for the construction workers. Also, by the way, sorry if the camera angle is a bit weird. I don't have much space to set up my camera equipment back in this corner of the LEGO City where I'm currently working at. And then, as always, I'm constantly trying to work on the different roads, pedestrian ways, bike lanes, and so on. So that's why you can see me adding more and more tiles in between. And then one final touch I'm adding to the construction site are these small street signs. I mean, they just fit perfectly into this little corner. And now this is what the construction site looks like from the visitor's perspective. I mean, it isn't completely obvious, so it isn't facing the viewer right in front, and also it's a bit further in the back of the LEGO City, but this is exactly what I'm liking, especially in this old part of my town. I don't want the whole thing to be one single construction site. So this is perfectly fine with me, and also it covers up the boring facade. Otherwise I would have added more windows, but this is a perfectly fine solution to me. And also, as you can see right here, I think the small sign I've added fits perfectly into this corner. Why I'm so happy with the placement of this sign is because they are so expensive and I don't want to waste them behind some buildings where the normal viewer or visitor wouldn't see it. Back here, I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to connect the pedestrian way and the bike lane to the street, because, well, it's a bit above the studs and the bike lane is directly below, connected to the studs. So this is sort of the problem I'm having right now. Then back here, let me stand up. As you can see, there's this small gap in between the elevator shaft And the way I'm planning to add 2 more studs towards the elevator so minifigures can fall down, obviously. I mean, that would also be not too bad if there aren't some major death traps in a city. So with that being said, that's it for this week's LEGO City update. As always, I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next one.